Good Monday morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me here as we start a week and finish a month. Glad to have you join me here. If you will, like, share, comment on the post. And then you can, if you're able, flip with me over to the book of Philippians, chapter 4, beginning in verse number 8. Paul says, finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. As we look at that verse, it seems to me, as I think about it, that sometimes we take this verse maybe in a little bit of a vacuum, look at it by itself, and just encourage people to think about the things that are true, honest, just, pure, lovely, good report, have virtue. And that's not bad advice, certainly not. That we tell people to guard your thoughts, to be careful of what you think, where your focus is. But when doing that, we miss the motivation. Why is it that we are told to do that? Well, that comes back, I think, to verse 7, when Paul has just told us and been talking about the peace of God that keeps our heart that we looked at yesterday. And to have that peace, he says, if you want to have that peace in your heart and hang on to it, God gives us peace. We just let it sometimes get it ripped away from us. If we don't want to lose that peace, if we don't want that peace to get away from us, he says, then dwell on these things, those things that are true, those things that are honorable, just, pure, lovely, commendable, all those things that have virtue. By what he means there is those things that are morally good and those things that are praiseworthy. He says, focus your attention on those things. One of the reasons that many believers don't have this deep peace that verse 7 talks about is because we tend to think about and focus on things that simply rob us of our peace, that take that peace from us. They're actually we think on things that are against the peace we want to enjoy. We think about bad things. Lord, give me peace. And then we dwell on the things that are bad. We think about the things that are not peaceful. We dwell on, something somebody said about us, or the bad things that could happen, or the latest news report. They cause us to be anxious. They cause us to be, cause that peace that God wants us to have to be destroyed. And so Paul says, don't think about those things. Don't dwell on them. Not that you don't think about them. You need to be aware of world events, of things going on around you. But he says, don't dwell on them. Don't dwell on people. Don't dwell on the things. Don't dwell on the stories that rob you of your peace. One of my favorite sayings, you've been watching long, listening, you've heard me say this over and over. A good run is better than a bad stand. If there are people that you can't be around, certain people rob you of the peace and the joy that God wants you to have, maybe you need to cut ties. If you can't watch the news without getting your blood pressure up and getting all tore up and upset, maybe you need to quit watching the news. Those things that we know rob us, or certainly make it difficult for us to have the peace that God wants us to have. He says, don't dwell on those things. Do whatever it takes. Instead, focus on the true, the honorable, the just, the pure, the lovely, the commendable, and the praiseworthy. He says, change your focus. Don't think on all those other things, but think on these things. What great advice for us today as we live in a troubled world. We live in an upsetting world, a world that will certainly rob us of our peace if we allow it. But Paul says, think on these things. Have a good day. We'll see you here tomorrow morning.